Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Dark Powerrr, where we talk about everything that happens on AEW Dark Elevation and NWA Powerrr. We have some kind of fun episodes to get through today, so we're gonna get straight to it. But before we do, remember to hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe. We thank you for everything that you do to support us because it allows us to do what we do for you. And speaking of doing for you, we're going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to what Nick Aldis is going to be doing for Trevor Murdoch this evening on Dark Powerrr. But first, we got to get to AEW Dark Elevation. So Elevation started out pretty well. There wasn't too much about the show that was kind of bad. It started off with Phoenix versus Chuck Taylor. This was a really good match. I liked it. They had a little bit of interference and moments there where the rest of the best friends kind of took on the rest of Death Triangle, or I don't think Pac was there actually, but it was because it was Alex Abrahantes and standing in for Pac. But a good match, a good opening match. We like to see this. This is the kind of stuff that we like on Elevation. It's AEW contracted talent in Phoenix versus another AEW contracted talent in Chuck Taylor, and that's what Elevation's about. And we're happy to see these feuds carrying over this kind of synergy that's happening between the shows. That's what we're interested in. That's what we're looking for. That's how you draw people in to continue to tune in for Dark Elevation. And they continue to build out and flesh out these characters and let us know more about them. One of the ways they've been doing that on Elevation is having Big Show doing that showcase segment. We don't get a showcase segment here, but we do get kind of a long-form vignette for Layla Hirsch, and you get to learn a lot about Layla Hirsch. Like, there are things that I didn't fully know about her. I know that she's billed from Moscow. I know that she's from Moscow, but I didn't know the side of her where she was adopted. I didn't know that the challenges that she faced when it came to sports, when it came to, she was competing in wrestling not just against women but also against men because she was just that good. You know, obviously we see the height challenges, but she's talking about that, how that's a strength. She's talking about in that vignette how a lot of the obstacles and adversity that she's faced is a strength for her. She's going to have a tag team match later in the evening with Ryo Mizunami where she's going to win, and we're going to see her on Dark as well on Tuesday night, and we're going to talk more about that when we get to that match, when we get to talking about Dark. But really strong work on that vignette. And another thing that stood out to me was Chris Statlander versus Tesha Price. Speaking of the women's division, we are continuing to rebuild Chris Statlander now that she has returned from her injury, and it's very important because all signs kind of point towards Britt Baker being the one to dethrone Hikaru Shida. They've given Shida a long reign. It's really unfortunate. Part of the video package for Shida versus Ty Conti was that she wanted to be able to defend the AEW Women's World Championship in arenas with people. She wanted to take it on the road, and she won it and has held it basically during the entirety of this pandemic because it was end of May at Double or Nothing last year. And it's kind of unfortunate because it doesn't look as though she's going to be holding that title for much longer if Britt Baker has anything to say about it. But when you do that, you need to have strong faces for Britt to face down the road, and one of those is going to be Chris Statlander now that she's back. I think they were kind of waiting for Statlander to return to pull the trigger on the Britt Baker versus Shida thing, and it works out pretty well because I think it's the other way around. They were going to pull the trigger anyway, and Statlander coming back just worked out really well for the plans because there's only so much that you can keep Britt Baker. There's so much you can do to keep Britt away from Shida. The Thunder Rosa storyline was long, well done, but part of the reason why it was so long was because they were trying to hold off on getting Britt to Shida. And now we're at that point, and we can have someone like Statlander waiting in the wings to be a contender. So good there. Speaking of people to be contenders, we have Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. They had a fun little promo segment where they were talking about what the name of the team should be, and each wants the other person's name in the front. Some classic cocky, smarmy heel shit where they are kind of tongue-in-cheek supporting the other person. And that's not to say that they are even tongue-in-cheek doing it. They may realistically feel that way about each other. But because we know that they're heels, we know that there's some level of smarminess to it. And here they're taking on Alex Reynolds and Five from the Dark Order. And again, we're seeing the loss of Johnny Hungy. That's part of the promo that Reynolds and Five do. They're acknowledging that Silver is not there. And that's what's going to cost them this match. But a really great tag match. And probably the match of the night, but for the main event. The main event is Matt Seidel taking on Joey Janella, and I gotta say, that was a really, really good match. We are having some great moments here for Matt Seidel. I don't know off the top of my head if Seidel is fully signed to AEW. I think he might be, but if he isn't, it's interesting that he's getting the win. And if he is, it's still interesting that he's getting the win, because Janella is somebody that AEW has kind of let flounder a bit. Because, I mean, if you think of where he was when he was... I mean, he's a guy who had a singles match at All In. Not even AEW, All In, he had a singles match. And he was one of the first persons that they signed or announced signing when AEW became a thing. So seeing them kind of drop the ball on Janella has been, a little bit of a downside of the AEW experience thus far. And Matt Seidel is somebody who can take losses, because we don't really know what really their goal down the line is for Matt Seidel. Maybe down the road they're thinking of a junior heavyweight or a cruiserweight title, and that's what Seidel is. They're building him up for. Maybe down the road, I don't know. But we got to talk about how this match was just really, really stellar, and it was a great way to cap off Elevation. And now let's talk about what they did on Dark to continue all of that momentum that they built on Elevation. So Dark, there were a couple things that stood out to me. One of those things was the Marty Castis versus Brian Cage match. This was a match that would warm the hearts of all of the Lucha Underground fans that we had from back in the day. This is Marty the Moth versus Brian Cage, and this was a really good match. I liked it a lot. This had some nice hard-hitting moments. These were two guys that knew each other very well, and you can tell in the ring. And Taz is somebody on commentary who makes this even better when Brian Cage is having matches. Just the jubilant way that he's talking about Brian Cage, it just warms the heart. But this was a solid match. Brian Cage picks up the win. He's going to be taking on Hangman on Dynamite, and strong work in keeping Cage looking strong. I just used strong there twice, but it was a good job. And what I liked about it was, on commentary, they were drawing comparisons between Marty's physique and moveset and Hangman's, and that was really cool. That's what you need to do during these. I mean, because we know that Brian Cage is not going to lose this match, but what is it about this match that draws you in? Well, it's saying he's up against somebody who fits the moveset or fits the style or is some ways comparable to the person that he's going to face on Dynamite, and commentary did a really good job about that. Now, we were talking earlier about the women's division and Layla Hirsch. So let's talk about these next two matches that stood out to me. The first is Layla Hirsch taking on Renee Michelle, and the second is Kylan King taking on Danny Jordan. Now, what I liked about these two is it's really starting to set the seeds, or sow the seeds, of face challengers for Britt. And we're building up Layla Hirsch for a reason. We're building up Kylan King for a reason, so that when they start to break out and down the road and they're able to face somebody like Britt Baker, that's going to be really important. Because think about it. Let's say Britt picks up the title the end of May. Let's say maybe there's a return match. Let's say maybe Hikaru Shida has a rematch for the title. Let's say that's in June, maybe middle to late June. By the time July rolls around and August rolls around and we're building towards all out, you can have matches where someone like Layla Hirsch is taking on Britt Baker, or Kylan King is taking on Britt Baker, and Britt's able to beat them, and it adds more credibility to the heel run that Britt is going to be on. Obviously, I don't think that either of them are going to be contenders or challengers at the time of All Out, but it will allow them to have wiggle room when it comes to having capable people for Britt to face off against during that whole time. Next, a match that I really liked was Lee Johnson taking on Will Allday. We had some fun moments here due to just how they've been building out this Factory versus Nightmare Family feud. It's been something that has kind of been standouts on Dark and Dark Elevation. We saw the QT Marshall versus Billy Gunn match on Dynamite last week. We know we're getting a 6-man this week, but we see Lee Johnson picking up a nice win over All Day, and then after that, Factory comes out, makes that attack. They do what they got to do. We're pushing that storyline along, despite the fact that nobody in this match is involved in the feud. Like, the opponent, Lee Johnson's opponent, is not involved in the feud. And finally, our 6-man main event, our 6-man tag match, really good. I like this one. This is Blade and Private Party taking on Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and 10 and Preston Vance. We've been building this Hardy Family Office versus the Dark Order feud for some time, about a month or so. I think if Evil Uno's timeline is correct that he brings up during the promo video for this. But really good match here. Good, strong main event. There wasn't anything particular on Dark that I think exceeded Dark Elevation. The Marty Castis and Brian Cage match probably comes the closest. But what Dark is doing very well, at least this week, is helping to move storylines along. And that's something that's really, really important. And that's what we can talk about when we talk about NWA Powerrr. NWA Powerrr is moving storylines along at a very fast clip. It's super fast. I don't know why they're moving some of these storylines along so quickly, but I don't know. I guess they're trying to build towards that When the Shadows Fall pay-per-view, but that's June. I mean, we still have all of May to get through, which, for the record, I just want to say, When the Shadows Fall as a pay-per-view name is original, because we don't see pay-per-view names like that. But it's also a horrible pay-per-view name. I don't know what Billy Corgan is doing or thinking when it comes to the pay-per-view names, or if he's even the person making that's one of his creations and some just went along with it, or somebody else came up with it and he just liked it. But that pay-per-view name leaves a lot to be desired. I don't know what shadows are falling. What are these shadows? Why are they falling? Is there a particular reason that the shadows are falling in June? What exactly? Why June 6th? But I guess we'll see that as we get closer to it. But this week on Powerrr, we start off with Nick Aldis saying, let's do Murdoch versus Adonis for the national title. And Murdoch knows that this is Aldis' way of kind of chickening out of doing what's really the match, which is Murdoch versus Aldis for the heavyweight title. So there's a bit of jaw-jacking back and forth. They say that we're going to do a 6-man tag match in the main event. Aldis is not going to be involved, so it's going to be strictly business of Adonis and Latimer with a partner of their own choice. But do we need to see who exactly is going to be on the Trevor Murdoch side of things, right? Who is going to be that person who's going to be tagging with him? Well, we kind of quickly get that solved. We have also a stipulation for the match. If Trevor's team wins the match, he gets a shot against Adonis for the national title. Okay. If he loses the match, though, he gets sent home for 30 days without pay. Now, this is a weird stipulation. One, the way they even say it, they said that he's suspended for 30 days. And two, they're saying that it's without pay. Couple things here. One, does Nick Aldis even have that power? Like, how is it? When did Nick Aldis start getting booking power? When did he get the ability to, even make matches? He can issue a challenge and then somebody can accept it, but they gotta have some authority figure say, yes, this is what we're gonna do. That we're gonna have, I think it was Elevation. I want to say, because I think I associate the sentence with Shivani's voice, but there was something along the lines of some issue between some people, and then Shivani said something like, Tony Khan has signed this match for next week. Like, there is some kind of acknowledgement. In this situation, Aldis throws out this 6-man title, Murdoch's going to accept, and they're just like, the very next thing is, in our main event, we're going to have this. Like, there was no correlation between somebody making the match and the actual challenge. Additionally, how exactly is Aldis able to make this kind of stipulation? if this is Billy Corgan's perspective, right? Billy Corgan has to look at it and say, well, if Murdoch loses, I can't book Murdoch for a month. Like, that hampers my ability to make matches, and I need to be able to make matches for TV because people need a reason to tune in. I'm just going to let all this take one of my guys off the board that I can't book a match? What if next week I wanted to do Trevor Murdoch versus JR Kratos, or Trevor Murdoch versus whoever the fuck? I can't because Nick Aldis put this stipulation out here, and apparently Nick Aldis is God. That aspect of it, it doesn't really... Something about that is a bit lacking, and I think they need to kind of clean that up a bit. But either way, we kind of know what's going to happen when it comes to these partners, because our very next match is Saul Renaro versus JR Kratos. So, this match is going to go to a no contest. First, we're going to have May Valentine show up. Then we're going to have Danny Dimes show up with a chair, try to get involved. Kratos is going to choke slam him for his troubles. Kratos is going to roll to the outside, get into Tim Storm's face. Tim Storm is going to kind of get up from the announce table, get back in Kratos' face. Referee is going to wave the match off, say it's a no contest. We're also going to have Aaron Stevens come out and get involved and be like, bro, what the hell is going on? Now, this is where it gets a little weird. Okay, so Kratos and Storm are standing by the announce table, which, if you watch Power, we have the... I'll try to do it in reverse because the way the camera is facing, but you have the ring here. Then behind the ring, to camera left, we have the announce table. And behind the ring to camera right, we have the interview table. So they're here by the announce table getting mad at each other. Kratos is telling Tim Storm to punch him. Tim Storm saying, I don't really need to punch you. That doesn't accomplish anything for me. And then we have the two members of Strictly Business, Adonis and Latimer, come to the interview table while these guys are still arguing with each other. And they say, well, there's some problems over here, as we can tell, but Kratos, you will be able to solve some of your anger issues because we are picking you for our six-man tag. You're going to be the mystery partner. Again, when did these guys get the ability to just select him? Because Kratos is not like, okay, cool. They're just like, we're going to make you our partner. And I guess Nick Aldis, the dealer, can just pull these things out of his hat even when he's not even there, which I guess is a testament to the power of Nick Aldis. But either way, we kind of see where this is going. We kind of can tell that Saul Renaro, Tim Storm, could potentially be the partners. But what about Aaron Stevens? Would Aaron Stevens come out to support somebody on opposing his tag team partner in JR Kratos? Well, he's having some issues with what JR Kratos is doing. They themselves were arguing a little bit during this segment, so maybe there's some issues there. After this, we have a promo between Slice Boogie and Jax Dane. It goes a little long in the beginning, but I mean, it gets the job done of saying, we want to see Slice Boogie versus Jax Dane. This was also a little weird because Slice Boogie thus far has been presented as a face, a very cocky face, a face that, really believes himself, a little overconfident almost, but not really doing anything heelish. But now in this promo, he comes across as the heel. He comes across as kind of an asshole to Jax Dane, who up until this point in time kind of was a heel, was coming across as a heel. But either way, we're going to get this Jax Dane versus Slice Boogie match. I think Slice Boogie is the next man up when it comes to who NWA is trying to build up or build around. Always interesting, considering they don't really do long-term contracts like that. So, but they still have to build somebody up, right? Otherwise, there's no interest in watching the show because we're not invested in anybody to potentially take titles from the title holders. You have to be invested, or at least invested in the title holders to see if they're going to retain. And that's something that NWA is having some issues with when it comes to building talent up. They've lost a lot of people, and that's part of the reason why we are getting this next match, which is Tyrus versus Pope for the TV title. Now, I feel like this was a little quick. I feel like it could have waited a week or two to get this match, but here we are. I guess part of the deal of being the TV champion is defending it a lot. But whatever. We're going to have a 6-minute and 5-second match here for our NWA TV title. So, I've gone over before about how annoying Austin Idol is on commentary. It's almost as though he's putting himself over more than Tyrus. He kind of is saying that Tyrus is a fucking idiot because he repeats multiple times that Tyrus just needs to do what he tells him to do. And to the point that Velvet Sky asks him, does Tyrus even need to think for himself? And he says, no, Tyrus doesn't need to think for himself. He just needs to do what I'm telling him to do. Which, I guess, heel managers, they also have to have an element of cockiness in themselves. But Austin Idol forgets that he's not actually here to get himself over. He's here to get Tyrus over. And he's failing at both. Because when Austin Idol starts, going on and on about himself, I just stop paying attention. Like, I stop listening to what he's saying. And then I don't hear anything that he's going to say praiseworthy about Tyrus. Go figure. But the match is kind of a clusterfuck of a match. We have Idol leaving commentary and coming over to the ring and holding on to Pope's leg at one point in full view of the ref. And the ref neither kicks Idol out, nor does he do the logical thing and immediately disqualify Tyrus because he's having outside interference on his behalf. So a weird moment there. I don't know if there was just a miscommunication or what, but some weird shit happened there. Also, Tyrus seems more interested in inflicting pain on Pope than in winning the title, which was the exact thing he said he wanted. He wanted the title. He didn't care if he had to go through Pope to get it. He just wanted the title. The match really wasn't between any animosity between the two of them, and Tyrus even mentioned that the week prior, and they were talking about that before, where they were like, it's like, I know Pope, I have a relationship with Pope, we go back, but I don't care about who is holding the championship, I just want the championship. And he just completely forgets that this match is only 6 minutes and 5 seconds, and this goes to a time limit draw, which champions advantage, you retain. So Pope is still our champion. The match itself is, I guess, alright. Pope deserves better than being in the ring with somebody like Tyrus who just cannot go anymore. But hopefully for all involved, this program will soon be over. But knowing NWA probably means that Tyrus is going to be taking the belt from Pope. But then at the same time, you there is always a nice counterbalance when you have a dominant heel champion to have a really strong face champion for one of your mid-card titles. So maybe Tyrus is going to fail, and it's just a way to help get Pope over more. Finally, in our main event, we see Strictly Business come out with Kratos. We see Trevor Murdoch come out for his side. We don't know who exactly is going to be his tag team partner. And this is where I think they kind of mess up. The money in it is not Tim Storm coming out. Because what happens is Aaron Stevens comes out and we realize, wow, it's going to be tag team champion versus tag team champion members of the team. And then Saul Renaro comes out, and then Tim Storm comes out in his ear and says, Saul, you're in no position to compete. Let me take your spot. And Sal's like, all right, cool. This is bad for a number of reasons. Because the real money is in the problems with the tag team partners, not with Tim Storm replacing Saul Renaro. No one really cares about Tim Storm replacing Saul Renaro because Saul Renaro is treated as a joke. So Tim Storm showing up when it's obvious that Tim Storm is going to be there, that's whatever. But Aaron Stevens making the choice to continue down his path of I'm becoming the hero or I'm becoming a face, of being willing to stand up against his own tag team partner, that is actually more important. But either way, they're out there. The match happens. Pretty good match, actually. Not that bad of a tag team match. The finish is going to be something I didn't expect. It's going to be Tim Storm who takes the pin, and now Murdoch is out of his national championship match, and he's suspended for 30 days. So he gets to go home and sit on his couch and watch Powerrr. And one of the things he's going to be watching is... Well, he wanted to watch this segment. The segment that happened before the main event. But he will be watching what happens afterwards. And I hope to God that it's better than what this segment was. And that is kind of the biggest... After Trevor Murdoch and Nick Aldis, which is now basically not happening, it is now the biggest story on NWA Powerrr. And that's why I moved it to being the last thing that I talk about. And that is Thunder Rosa versus Camille. So we have this summit where Thunder Rosa and Camille are going to be talking to each other about their problems. Now this is a little weird because they've already had the match. Camille won. Camille continues to get involved with Thunder Rosa's stuff. Okay, that part is fine. Why this doesn't make sense is they say that they can't speak for each other. Themselves. They can't speak for themselves. They have to designate a spokesperson. And the sole reason to designate this spokesperson is to show Melina being on Thunder Rosa's side and to have something for Taryn Terrell to do. So Thunder Rosa, despite the fact that she has clearly stated that she doesn't want anything to do with Melina, picks Melina for the sole reason that she wants things to stay with a Latina. She wants to have that Latina energy. Okay, cool. But for the past 3 weeks, you were telling us that you don't need Melina and you don't want Melina, even more than not needing Melina. Okay, fine. Melina comes out. Camille has to pick her spokesperson. She has a funny little joke about not being able to pick Tom Latimer. And so she picks Taryn Terrell for absolutely no reason. At least Rosa gave me a slight reason for picking Melina, whereas Camille has absolutely no reason to pick Taryn Terrell. This segment is kind of a train wreck. We know, we're getting this match. There's no reason to, just build the match. This ends into you know what it felt like? It felt like WWE divas arguing, which makes sense because two of the women involved were back during the Diva era. And Taryn Terrell was one of the women who was part of the, I would say, lackluster side of the Impact Knockouts division from back in the day. Taryn Terrell, not that strong in the mic, not that strong in ring. Why? What exactly is she doing here? And that's something that I was talking about when she first made her debut, not re-debut, but her debut with the NWA. She just doesn't really fit. And she has not improved in her time off. We'll just leave that there. But this segment, which is leading to this match, could have been a lot better, and I hope that they find a way to clean this up down the road with whatever they're doing going forward. I'm not sure how they're going to pull that off, considering all of these are taped episodes. They're not happening. They're not really able to course correct, but whoever was watching this and said this is how we want this feud to build, they got some work to do, because this did not help Rosa. This did not help Camille. It only helped Melina, if anybody. It didn't really help Taryn either. Taryn just came across as annoying. And I guess maybe that's the goal. I guess the goal is go away heat maybe? But then again, they control the crowd because this is all being taped in front of people that NWA controls. So they're going to give the reactions that NWA is looking for. But from the viewer's standpoint, Taryn Terrell just doesn't really move the needle. But I guess, it's a way to just get where they need to go, and that's to have a feud while Serena Deeb is healing up. Hopefully they can figure out a way to get this going in a better way, a faster way, not faster way, but faster to the conclusions that these women can do something else. Rosa could be doing something with a different woman. Camille could be doing something with a different woman to build up other contenders, to build up other women in the women's division. But maybe that's a symptom of NWA not having people on the roster, which is a problem and has been a problem for some time. Hopefully this Fight TV contract can help change that. They can afford more people and give us a little bit more variety, because otherwise this is just Rosa versus Camille versus Serena Deeb, and that title's just going to play hot potato between the three of them, with maybe a sprinkling in of Melina and, God forbid, Taryn Terrell. But that's all for me, guys, this week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Thank you for tuning in. And you can always catch me on Fusion of Honor with my tag team partner, the three-time baby-making champ Ness, and of course getting into fun arguments and discussions with you guys on Facebook, like the person who suggested that the Impact World Title and the AEW World Title are not accepted by the greater wrestling community. Thank you for that laugh, sir. I really appreciated that, especially when I then quoted just greater wrestling community, and he liked the comment, not realizing the level of sarcasm that was happening. But I guess, different strokes, different folks. But anyway, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'll catch you next week, and hopefully we'll see some improvement.